and welcome to Talking Live. I'm Dr. Robi Ludwig, right here in Star Shop Studio, and today is our 100th show. We are so... Yay! We are so...
Holla, not the bread!
We are so excited, and thank you so much for being with us over the last 2 years with all of our fascinating guests, and it wouldn't have been as great and rewarding and fulfilling without you. And that's why we have a very special guest, Mindie Barnett. She is the president and CEO of NB and Associates PR company.
Right.
She also is the author of a new book called Intermission. It's so fabulous.
Oh, thank you.
As soon as I got it, I said, I love your writing.
Oh, you did. You texted me that. I appreciate that.
I really love
I love
writing.
to write.
Before we get into this, you're a girly girl like me.
Yes.
And during one of your interviews, you said you love shopping.
Yes, and dressing up. Because it makes me feel good even when I may be feeling a little down.
And we decided for our 100th show that we wanted to wear red carpet rocks jewelry.
Because we want to be at the Met Gala.
That's right.
Like, we want to be in the Met Gala.
My invitation got lost in the mail.
Mine too.
But this company is so amazing because the woman who is the founder curates the most incredible jewelry, and you can rent it. This piece.
It's gorgeous.
For $39.
It's gorgeous. You look like a princess.
So, and it's just absolutely beautiful for prom and for weddings and whatever's out there. And if you sign up now, and we'll have a link, you'll get 10% off.
Oh, cool.
For your first piece and first rental. And there's just a lot available there. So we are both wearing our necklaces. And
I have a fabulous cocktail ring and a beautiful emerald-inspired necklace, like tear statement necklace with gold embellishment.
It's perfect.
I love it. And I might borrow it another day.
I know. I feel like I want to keep it.
You may not be getting this back.
But it's rented, so you have to give it back the next day.
It's great. She's brilliant to come up with this concept.
I know.
She should do very well with it, for sure.
And also it's so interesting because usually the rental market is for millennials. They're very used to that style of business.
Right.
But this is really for all ages.
Oh, for sure.
And I think all ages can get into it because sometimes if you're being photographed, like you go to a lot of events.
Yes.
Then you don't want to necessarily be photographed in the same necklace. You're like, oh, I don't want to do that again.
Totally, because people will remember something like that. Plus, you know, even just if you're not photographed to be in a magazine, social media, I mean, you know, you're in one post and you might as well, like, forget wearing that again.
I know.
Yeah.
I've been there, done that. So this is a great way to do it and not kill your bank account.
Totally.
Well, you know a thing or two about being a successful businesswoman.
Oh, thank you. I try. As do you. You too. You know.
We met each other through business, and I have worked with several of your clients and really love them.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I'm actually having coffee with one on Friday.
Oh, Meredith. Yeah, she's great. Yeah.
So you work with the most incredible people. You started in news.
I did.
You were a health reporter. We have some beautiful photos of you way back in the day.
There I am. Yeah, so I'm in the one all the way to the left there. That's in Champaign. That was my last television job. I was a morning anchor for WICD, and then up to the right there with the News 12 flag, I was a reporter at News 12 New Jersey, which isn't far from here.
No.
And there's a News 12 Long Island and Connecticut, and then beneath that was earlier in my career at Monroe, Louisiana. I was an anchor and a reporter.
Just all the photos, I was like, oh my God, you're adorable in every photo.
No, not the bottom one with my white hair, but thank you.
I thought you were adorable, and those jobs are really hard to get. It's very hard to get a job in TV news.
As you know, because you were in it too.
I know.
It's very hard. You literally have to sell your soul to the devil and have to want it and basically work essentially for free, especially in the beginning. I mean, you're not really working for free, but you might as well be.
It feels like that.
But it does. But you know what? It's like what is that expression? Like it's a love, a passion.
A labor of love.
Thank you.
It
is.
And you talk about, and what I love about your book is your honesty. Like sometimes you're so honest in this book. I was like grasping for air. I was like, I can't believe she just said this. Can't believe she just said that. Like you were very honest. One of the things you talked about was one of the intermissions in your life had to do with business. Tell me about that story. You were applying for different jobs
Right.
in television.
Right.
And you were hitting up against some walls.
I was. So basically, in a nutshell, I chose to leave television news after being in the industry for 10 years. I loved it. It's what I was basically born to do, and still feel that it's in my blood to this day, still dabbling a little bit on air here and there when I'm able to, but for a variety of reasons I chose to leave. And then I left and I worked for a publicist in the Philadelphia area who will remain nameless for this show, but wasn't pleasant to work for, and that's all I'll say. So I resigned very abruptly and figured if that's PR, I want nothing to do with it. So then I went back into sort of the news grind. I landed like some freelance gigs, if you will, but nothing permanent. And I kept saying, like, how is this not working out? Like, I have all this experience and all these other jobs sort of came easier for me and this and that. And then was randomly shopping in a boutique. And long story short, the woman that owned the store was looking for a publicist, and one thing led to the other, and the conversation presented itself that she was asking for help. So I reluctantly agreed because I wasn't sure how long I was going to be available to help her. And organically, through that one client, other clients saw all of the media this woman was receiving through my services. And by I think 3 months in, I had about 6 or 7 clients.
Incredible.
It was a crazy story, and I never set up an LLC or any kind of business plan, nothing. And eventually, finally did get the news offer to go back into TV. I had sort of decided I was going to stay within a shorter radius to my hometown in Philadelphia, and then I decided to stay with PR because it was sort of something that came very easy for me given my media background and
you were
people
very
skills.
creative in terms of looking at stories in the news. You found a woman who was in a parachute accident.
Yep.
You matched her up with a dentist.
Yep.
You got him great PR.
Right.
You've gotten people on Oprah.
Right.
Today.
Yep.
Inside Edition.
You should be my publicist,
I
Dr.
should.
Robbie.
I could be your publicist.
You're very good. Thank you. I appreciate it.
I feel like she's like my little sister.
I wish I was your little sister.
My little.
Yes, I know. But to get back to what your original question was, and part of my lesson with that first intermission was, you set goals, and I'm very type A, and I'm very like goal oriented, etc. But sometimes things are just out of your control, and you have to be open-minded to kind of deviate from the path you thought you might be taking, because there might be something better for you down another path that you otherwise wouldn't know about or have the ability to experience and enjoy if you're so like, gung-ho, that's the path I want to go. If the door is sort of like shut or just ajar, and it's you, instead of kicking it open like we all want to do with our stiletto heel, sometimes it's best to truck down the other path and see what's down that line. And that's what essentially happened for me with PR.
And it's important to keep an open mind. And fast forward, you're tremendously successful.
Thank you.
Won awards.
Thank you.
And along the way, you got married because you had your business first.
I did. Yep.
You got married and had your 2 children.
Yeah, they
were
did.
adorable. We have a picture of you.
That's us. See, we are sisters.
That was from a fashion week.
Yeah, that was.
did.
It was from this past fashion week with my client here in New York City, Julian Farrell. That's my parents, Sandy and Brick Barnett, and with me at my wedding day, and my kids, Ariel and Julian. That's a few years ago. They're a little older now,
Such a beautiful family.
Thank
really
you.
Gorgeous.
Oh, thank you.
You
Very
talk
close.
about how challenging it was to get out of your marriage, and we're very. And I'll let people get the book.
Yeah,
to just
please get the book.
Go through some of the challenges that you went through, and just very honest about health struggles you went through, and just fidelity issues that came up, and questions that came up. And for anyone that's out there who's in the struggle, I think really reading your words will be tremendously therapeutic for them. That was your goal.
It was. I just really thought if I can just touch even just one soul with sharing my own experiences, then I've done the deed that I set out to do. I'm not pretending to be a celebrity. I've written a memoir. I'm only 45. Some people at book signings have said, how can you have written a memoir? I said, well, I have some stories. Trust me, they're in there. But yeah, I wanted to be very honest. Some of it is, you know, brutally honest, but I felt like if I was going to really do the readers a service, then I needed to put my heart on the line and just share the lessons that I learned along the way, in the hopes of giving someone some inspiration to make a move, because there's nothing worse than feeling stuck.
I feel like to write a memoir, you know, you could say, oh yes, like somebody's young, but you really have to share everything.
You do.
If you're going to write a memoir that's honest, and you do.
Thank you.
Was that hard for you? Did you have any, I don't know, regrets about putting some of that honesty on the page?
Well, a little bit. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. Yeah. I mean, after it's said and done, maybe a little bit. There's a few stories specifically that pertain to my, ex-husband that weren't exactly. In fact, there was one chapter, and I'll not get into it, but I wrote the book in such a way that I could have easily omitted this one chapter, and it would have saved a little bit of, I guess, anger and some not sadness, probably more anger and bitterness initially with my ex-husband, who I have an amazing relationship with. We're very, very good friends, and we co-parent beautifully, which is also part of the book too, the lessons that I bring to the table in that regard. But at the end of the day, I struggled with it. I didn't know what to do, and I decided, you know what, that chapter was so profound to me, and I had a near death, so I thought situation going on. I really leaned on the powers that be, my faith. We found connected with Judaism during that period, and I mean it could be pertaining to any faith, but I just looked for any kind of strength that I could find in that time, and I felt like if I wasn't going to share that candidly, then I shouldn't even do the book. So I chose to do it. And so it was a little tricky initially, but he's very understanding, and I didn't bash him. I mean, it was just an experience that I felt like I know you're not suggesting that.
And also,
but
I didn't even get that feeling. And
right.
So I really felt your struggle, because you did not negatively paint your ex at all.
I tried. I mean, there's nothing to paint negative about anybody, and even some other situations that came up that weren't exactly the most pleasant or didn't turn out the way I wanted them to turn out, after the divorce and things like that. Everything happens the way it's supposed to, and maybe it wasn't the right time then, maybe it will be later, or maybe there was just a lesson that he needed to learn through that time, and that'll help me later in another relationship. So, there's no negative. It's just, as you say, it was just, it's very touchy. But if you're going to do a memoir, and that's what I felt I wanted to do, rather than shout lessons out, I'm not a therapist like yourself, and,
You don't want to tell people what to do
I'm not suggesting that. I'm just saying.
I do sometimes. I do.
Well, sometimes we need that. I certainly do. But I didn't feel as though I had the training to do that. So
I think this is very powerful.
Thank you. So
just because of your honesty.
Thank you.
I felt kind of the pain you were experiencing as you were describing it, and just the conflict. And I feel like I was experiencing it with you. And,
thank
I
you.
actually copied something from your book. I took a picture of it and copied it.
Oh, that's
all right.
right.
You said one of my most sacred lessons during this time was gaining the ability to self-love. More than friends, more than family. I feel like I fell in love with myself, and I will never be the same.
It's so true. I'm chills listening to you say that. But it is true, because I've always had confidence. Things didn't always happen easy for me, but I was one of those people that really didn't take no for an answer. And if I wasn't going to get what I wanted at that moment, I'd find another way to sort of achieve it through hard work and other ways that are obviously honest and just, following a different path, as I mentioned earlier. But I don't think I ever truly loved Mindie. I think I liked Mindie. Mindie's cool, but I don't think I truly loved Mindie. And now I definitely have learned much more about myself in this time, and can tell you today that I'm much more in love with me than I ever was before.
What does it mean to love yourself? at this point in your life?
I think I can see my inner soul, and my inner soul, to describe it in a color, is yellow and warm. It's like flickers of pink, and I think that I have a lot of happiness. And I mean, I'm one of those people that puts the radio on in the car and I sing full blast, you know, like full out. Like, I am a singer anyway, but even if I wasn't, I'd still be singing. And I smile at people and I'm kind to people, and I don't know if it's because I spent some time in the South and I have a little of that Southern hospitality I brought it back up here in the Northeast, or it's just inside of me. But in that time that I did self-discovery, that just blossomed. So,
and you're so respectful to
you.
people, I mean, which I think makes you definitely stand out in the business world.
Thanks.
Without a doubt.
There's no reason not to be, though, right?
I
Right.
agree. We've had this
You're
conversation
exactly the
where,
same.
You know, you can be pleasant. You don't have to love everyone, but you
No.
can be pleasant just for a little bit.
Yeah.
It's not that hard. It feels good, too.
Exactly.
If you can get there.
Exactly.
You talk about intermission, and what does that term mean to you? What did you want it to mean to your readers?
It's a time in between going from, as I'm saying, act 1 and act 2, but it could be like making a change or something that just abruptly changed in your life that maybe you had no control over. And it's the time in between all of that where you're sort of collecting yourself. I'll give you a few quick examples. So whether you're changing a career because you choose to, like I did when I was in news, or you lose your job, you were laid off, and then you kind of regroup and kind of redirect your professional life, or a relationship ends because you chose or your partner chose, or maybe someone passed away, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a spouse or a partner. It could be your parent, or God forbid, a child even. You know, it's that time where you're sort of in a pause, and I call it an intermission. And you could go one of two ways. You could either, you know, work and take baby steps, which eventually leads to larger steps and maybe a leap later on in life, right? Like as you're moving up the ladder or the mountain that you're trying to climb. Or you could go in the other direction. You could start slipping down the mountain and fall into this deep, dark hole, and which ultimately could turn into depression. And so I wanted to pull people out of that possible like area, that gray area before it turned dark or white, and pull them into the light. I also feel as though, you know, change specifically is very hard for us to concept. Like the concept is scary.
Especially the unknown.
That's what's scary.
And especially, I think it is normal to compare ourselves to other people, even though that's always devastating, but to see where you are in relation to other people. And when you're going into unknown territory, that's really hard. It's hard not to feel depressed. It's hard not to feel anxious. It's hard for some people not to feel bitter.
It is, and even just staying in this this territory before you make the change or choose to make the change, that is somewhat comfortable. I say it's like uncomfortably comfortable in the book. You know, there's a lot of us that stay in that place. I stayed in that place for a while, longer than I probably should have or needed to, but it is very daunting, and nobody likes it because it's a risk.
So I'm thinking it shouldn't be impulsive. So the fact that it took as long as it did for you to, you know, segue out of your marriage was probably a good thing in the sense that you were being thoughtful about it.
That's true.
Because when people make impulsive decisions, they tend to regret it.
No, that's very true. And I say that too. You should sort of get your cliche, your ducks in a row, and do your due diligence and your homework and coordinate whatever it is. I mean, I did a lot of research about custody, and I spent a lot of time doing that once I sort of made up my mind that I was going to take a step. But before all of that, there were not several, maybe 4 or 5 years where I was like, I don't know. And then I just decided, am I going to take the risk that I might be happier on the other side? It might be worse, but it might be better. Or I could stay where I am, where it's probably not going to get worse, but it's not going to get better. So I decided that, you know, I'm going to take the risk, which was it could get worse, for the chance that it might get better. And 9 times out of 10, they did. They did. Everybody did. Like my friends and everybody. I mean, everybody just wants to see everybody happy when you care about somebody.
How did you develop a good relationship with your ex after the marriage ended?
That's a good question. I think because I'm a really good publicist and I'm really good, not that I switched or changed anything, but I'm a good negotiator and I'm good at keeping the peace, so to speak. So, I mean, I'm not going to lie. There were times when we were like going through the divorce process because we were living in the same house, which was fun, that we were sort of not getting along, but my end of the day, I was always advocating for the kids, and I wanted to make things as peaceful for the kids as possible, which then forced me to be a little kinder to him during that ugly time than I maybe wanted to be, say. So now that we're out of it, you know, we both love each other. I actually love him more now than I did back then, because our love has evolved into a different sort of relationship. And, you know, he's the father of my children, and he's an amazing father, and, you know, we work very well together, and I look at our relationship more now as more of a business relationship as opposed with love, but as opposed to like obviously a partnership relationship where you might say things more openly or just sort of like say how you feel and not give it a lot of thought. And that's where you can kind of get into some like, you know, uncharted waters, because then if it's a hot topic or it's a touchy subject or something like that, when you're not having to share a home with a person, get in bed with a person at night, that sort of thing, you're more inclined to like just go crazy.
The expectations are different.
Yeah.
And sometimes they segue and become just your family that you love.
Yeah.
Instead of a partner that you have all of these expectations.
That's very true. Yeah. I mean, I would be there for him, anything he needed, and I know he would be there for me too.
What would you say to people out there who are going through a dark time, want to make that transition? What advice would you give them to help them make steps to get through to the other side?
Okay, so my first piece of advice is to find something that makes you happy. I started taking dance lessons again. I've always been a performer. Now, I just did that for that 1 hour of pure joy, because that put my whole mindset in a different place to make those decisions and to give it the thought that I needed to, you know, to be able to give it correct thought and with the right energy, if you will. Then I would say to organize your thoughts and organize whatever the plan is that you're looking to do. If you're looking to make a change with your career, but you can't leave that job because you need the financial money, like maybe do something as like a side hustle for a little while, and it's going to work. You're going to be working a little harder than you likely would want to, but the payoff is going to be so much better, because when you are able to make the transit, or you're, you know, financially able to make the transition, you're going to have an established side hustle, so you're not going to be starting from scratch. If it's a relationship situation, then that's difficult, but you have to just know that if you're not getting fulfillment in the relationship that you're in, whether you're fighting or maybe that partner isn't like exactly like, you know, has the same like mentality in regards to, you know, career themselves, or they're very complacent or whatever it may be, you know that there's somebody else out there that might be better. And if not, just be on your own for a while and like embrace who you are, and without having anybody pulling you backward. Does that make sense?
Yes, and it's like you truly now are living an authentic life.
Yes.
You are being true to yourself.
I am.
Which helps you love yourself. Let's go to the quick five. Did
Okay.
you know we do a quick five?
No,
So
but
that
I'm excited for a quick five.
Your fans can get a little sense of you.
Okay.
Okay. Which of your personality traits has been the most useful?
I think my outgoing personality is that, I guess, would that be considered one?
Yeah,
Therapy,
why not? Sure.
Therapist,
Yes.
Dr. Robi Ludwig,
Yes.
because I can talk to a wall, I can talk
Yeah.
to myself. I think I'm very good at striking up conversations. It's enabled me to get clients press. It's enabled me to land clients. It's enabled me to get a book deal, like that sort of thing. So,
Which is it's very important to put yourself out there and feel comfortable with it. What old person things do you do?
oh wow, let me see. Lots. Well, I still hold the newspaper. I'm a newspaper holder. Like, I'm not one that reads it online, so that might be considered that.
Yes.
I like to take a bath. Like, that's sort of like an old person-y
Okay.
thing. I like a nice hot cup of tea. I like to read before bed as opposed to watching television. I'm really into that. And I'm into candles, and so I don't know if that's really like old person-y.
yeah.
I'm trying to think. I mean, my daughter probably would be able to rattle off a bunch. I like old person music. I'm
There
into
we
like the
go.
70s and 60s, which is sort of old person-y.
Yeah, that works. Is there something that most people learn only after it's too late?
Something that, for me,
Or just most people in general? It could be for you.
let me think. Maybe that perhaps like someone that you thought was out to say, not necessarily get you, but somebody that you thought wasn't exactly on your side wasn't as evil as you thought, and then maybe a bridge could be burned that way, to be more open-minded. I don't know if I necessarily have any examples that come to mind today, but I know in the past, like even growing up, I definitely could have rattled off a few.
So being more open-minded.
Yeah, be open-minded. Don't think
good.
immediately jump to conclusions about something.
Agreed.
You know, because sometimes it's too late. If you express your opinion, you burn, you like destroy
I
that.
have always been happier with the things I have not said in life.
That's good. It's true.
No, it's
yeah.
really true.
Zip
I'm
your
always
lip.
like, I'm so glad I never said that.
Yeah, because you just don't know.
Because you can't take it back.
No, it's
You can't take it
it's
back.
very true.
When you have 30 minutes of free time, how do you pass the time?
It depends on the day. If I'm able to, I will run. I write about that in the book.
Yes.
I find a lot of solitude in that. I also think it's a huge stress relief for me. Or I'll read, because I don't get as, other than like that maybe 15, 20 minutes before bed, I don't get a lot of time to like sit down at my own leisure and read a good book. I will listen to a podcast because I enjoy that. Or I'll just talk on the phone with a friend, because that's like getting a glass of wine with a shot of something in it all in one sometimes.
Get some good gossip.
Yeah.
What gets too much attention in the news these days?
What gets too much attention? The Kardashians.
Ah, so interesting. Well, I want to encourage everyone to check out the link. We will have a link to your book.
Thank
and
you.
also, I will have a link so you can find out more information about Mindie. She also gives motivational talks.
Yes, I'm getting into the speaking
people
space.
Can find you, or if they want you for PR for themselves.
Yes.
And before we end, I just want to remind everybody, this weekend, the Three Tomatoes is having a renewal summit. It is happening all day Saturday. My mother and I will actually be on a panel together.
Cool.
And it's how to live your best life now. Lisa Oz, Dr. Oz's wife, will be there. Jane Hansen, who was a former anchor in New York City, will be talking about how to communicate effectively. So we hope that you will also join us then. There's a special discount, I think, if you get 2 tickets, you get something off. We'll have all the information about Red Carpet Rocks, Intermission, Mindie's fabulous book, and also the Renewal Summit. So check us out, and we'll see you next week. Thanks for joining us.
Bye.